Welcome to Fruiting Body Podcast, Episode 8 with Robert and Bella Redl from Arobela Body Piercing and Jewelry. Today we'll be talking, the host, Brendan O'Neill, I always forget that. Today we'll be talking with Robert and Bella about their body piercing shop in Phuket, Thailand at Boat Avenue. They've been in Asia for over 25 years, so we'll dive into that as well, and also get some more information on their manufacturing facility up in Bangkok. So without further ado, let's get this started. Thanks, guys, for joining us today. This is the Fruiting Body Podcast. Our intent of the conversation is to just walk through your journey. What were you guys doing before Asia? How you got here? What you're doing here now? And what your future plans are. So let's start with Bella. Talk us through your journey before even meeting Robert and this love connection came together.
There's not a lot to tell, actually.
Just turn the mic a bit towards you. There you go. Oh, I think you can just tilt it even like that. There you go. Okay.
So left Romania in 94 for Japan, which was the absolute best thing that ever happened to me because of perspective and everything else. And not very long after, actually, maybe half year after I met Robert.
So you met in Japan?
No, my first trip after Japan was Thailand, and I met Robert during my first trip.
Oh, okay. He just swept you off your feet.
And 6 months later we got married. So you see, it's very, very short, fast and furious kind of story.
Okay, and did the story hold up, Robert? Is this how you remember it?
Yeah, it's just she forgot to mention we met on the way home, so it was the last chance to meet somebody.
Maybe bring yours a bit close. There you go.
Yeah, so it was on the way home in the Don Mueang Old Airport.
Ah, okay.
So it was on the flight back to Europe.
And what attracted me to him was a belt buckle, a silver belt buckle embellished with turquoise.
Does he still have that belt buckle?
Yes, he does.
Oh,
and also during that night, during the flight, he put a bangle on my wrist with a turquoise.
Mm-hmm.
So he was selling a little bit jewelry in his spare time.
So that was my first encounters with making jewelry and sell it back in Europe. And
so he made his mark on you there.
Did you guys?
Did you join the Mile High Club that evening on the flight back?
We almost.
We were pretty close, but
very close. Yeah.
Yeah, you held back. Okay.
Yeah.
I was too shy at that time,
Right.
And what were you guys doing in Thailand at that point in time? Just traveling, backpacking?
Really backpacking. Yeah.
Backpacking. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so from that decision, you've gone back to Romania, you've gone back to Austria. I'm assuming maybe back in the day it was just pen pals. I'm sure.
Yes, it's true. Actually, she wrote me a letter,
which she didn't understand. My English was okay when I was speaking, but it was definitely not okay when I was writing a letter.
And then 2-3 weeks later, I just just took the car and drove to Romania.
Yeah.
Okay. Picked her up, and then from there you guys made the plan to go to Japan.
That came later, but in the beginning it was not that easy because Romania was not Europe yet, so it was still communist country. Not easy for her to get out, and
not European Union.
Yeah. So I had to throw stones on the window of the embassy to even get into the Austrian embassy in Romania.
To be allowed to go into Romania.
Yeah, because there were tons of people outside the embassy, and you couldn't get even into the embassy. So I was throwing stones on the windows and holding my passport until some Austrians took me into the embassy to make her visa.
But you could get into the country quite easily, or was that
the
also?
Austrian could get into Romania, but the Romanians couldn't get into Austria.
Ah, okay.
So
interesting.
The passport was not very valuable at that time, and through all these visa issues, we decided 6 months later we just get married. Nothing to lose.
No, I married only for love. That's what you say. It was for the visa, you know.
That's right.
I guess that proves it 26 years later.
That's a deep water. I have to be very careful when I mention we married for the visa, you know.
They might take it back, yeah. So, and at this point, this is around 1994.
95 we married.
1995, and you met back up, and then how did the decision come together to head out to Japan and to get into the jewelry side of things there?
Well, that came later, basically. We stayed like a year together in Austria, where I was working, and Bella really couldn't find her
Mojo
in Austria. And I was traveling a lot before already, every year, like 2-3 times for 2 months, 3 months. So at that time, we saved up some money and we said, okay, let's go for a longer travel. And let's try Japan, you know. So there was no real plan to move to Japan or anything. The only plan was to go for a long travel to Japan.
Just for a trip. This was the only intention.
We had 4 or 5 months basically planned to do a trip. And we didn't know really or didn't plan anything. And
what was your job before that? You were a train engineer, yeah?
I was an engine driver, you call it in English. I was driving trains.
Driving trains. Yeah. Okay, and how was that experience?
I don't want to say it really. But I mean, it was exciting in the beginning, but then it becomes boring very fast, you know.
Routine.
So it's a routine job. I did it for like almost 10 years. And it became very, very boring. And I just did it because it was a great thing to save time and money, because the company let you go for 2 months. And then you come back, you work for a few months, and you save the time up to go traveling again, you know. That was an amazing thing, basically.
Yeah, and did you have intention after that planned trip to go to Japan? Did you have an intention to go back to your train?
I did not have the intention, but it was always open, you know. Because growing up in Austria, you grow up with kind of a safety thinking, like all your parents tell you, that's a safe job, it's a safe job, don't let it go, you know.
Yeah.
So I saved time and some money, and I had 4 or 5 months holiday, and I could always go back if it didn't work out, you know.
And you were on board with this trip to Japan. You're able to get out of work. You're this free spirit. Let's go and see what happens.
Remember, I've been in Japan before him, so I kind of did my brainwashing there, saying, we gotta go back. It's amazing. And at some point he gave in. He said, yes, let's go.
What were you doing in Japan before making a trip back?
I was a cabaret dancer.
All right. Which city was that in?
Tokyo.
In Tokyo?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so you decided you were there for a couple of years, or what were you doing?
No. I had a 3 months contract, which after I would have to renew the contract. So basically go back to Romania, but I chose to go back to Thailand to travel. Then I met him. Then I decided I don't want to go anymore with the previous company, the Romanian company. And being married and all that, it kind of also opened up a lot of opportunities, because we could just do something together and new and fun. And so, yeah, jewelry.
So my understanding was you guys were selling jewelry on let's say the streets of Japan for marketing purposes.
Came a bit by accident.
How did that all come about?
Because her sister was together with her boyfriend at that time, was selling in the street. And so that's how it came that we also start selling in the street through these connections. You know?
We started together with basically my sister's boyfriend. That's how it came about. But then we ended up being the only non-Israelis, which was also moving sands.
So was this like an Israeli district in Tokyo that was selling jewelry?
No, it was like, at that time, it was a normal thing. Like there were Israelis basically doing the street business in Japan. Yeah. And all the travelers, the backpackers came there for 2 months, 3 months, make some money and continue the backpacking, the travels. Okay. So it was a normal thing in the 80s, in the 90s.
How did they get their hands on the jewelry itself to be able to sell it?
The jewelry you buy from Thailand, from Mexico, from wherever, and then you set up a store in the street and you pay the right people so that they leave you alone,
Are you buying the jewelry before you make the travel, or you're buying and ordering it to Japan and then distributing it?
No, at that time when we arrived, we was basically selling the things they gave us to sell,
Oh, okay.
And then you slowly get into it.
Okay.
You bring your own things, and also in the beginning, you're just a seller. You're not the owner of a street store.
Yeah.
So it takes a while until you get your trust and you get the place, and it's a bit of politics
and build the courage to go against the.
It's a bit of politics with Yakuza involved, and
how would that work? Because just like, let's say, the street vendors at Surin Beach or in Thailand. I mean, you can't just open a streetcar up on the beach. You got to talk to the right people. So how did that work?
But that's the same thing in Japan. You talk to the right people.
Okay, and from there you're giving them a kickback, or you're paying a weekly rent, and whether you sell or don't sell, it doesn't matter. Fuck you, pay me type.
I mean, if you're the seller, you have a share of percentage with the owner of the street store.
Yeah,
like it's usually 60-40. They give you the stuff. You get 40%, the owner of the shop gets the 60, and they pay after the people to let you stay in this spot,
So at that point in time, this is kind of a way for travelers going to Japan to make a little cash, so that they could survive and continue to travel, and they would have that kind of plan for a couple of months and then go elsewhere.
They stay sellers. They sell for 2 months and then they leave again, But because of the connection of her sister, we became the owners of the stores,
Okay.
So we started to have one of our own shops and another one, and then I started to bring some unique items.
Like the laser pointer?
Which was a big hit at that time.
The laser pointer.
Yeah,
so
there
even
was
outside of jewelry, other
things.
So on one of my trips, I found these small laser pointers. The green laser thing.
Yeah.
And I was the first person to bring this to Japan, and I was selling it on the street, and it was just flying off.
And it was the most fun item we ever made, or we ever sold. Sorry.
Yeah,
I used to play with that a lot when I was a kid.
I know.
Laser pointer.
So that was so new. Was so new at the time for the people to just buy one, and we was selling like crazy in the street.
Where were you getting the laser pointers from?
Taiwan.
They're coming from Taiwan.
Yeah.
And you would import them into Japan, bring them to your store.
Yeah, I was flying to Taiwan, fill up my suitcases, come back,
okay.
And then it took 2-3 days. I was selling all of them and fly back to Taiwan, bring them back again, It's like
easy.
Until we started to really ship them into Japan, and then everything started very fast. And then I started to supply all the street shops with the lasers,
So
instead of having my own street shop, I became the wholesalers to the street shop.
We had just great ideas.
It was the time before the internet.
Yeah.
So people couldn't find it so easy, So it took quite a long time where I was the only one having it,
And what was that process to be able to go to Taiwan and find the products? Like, I mean, without the internet, how would you even do that?
I was just lucky.
Just lucky.
I was in Bangkok on one trip.
Yeah.
To buy jewelry, and I found on one of these street shops, I found this laser pointer. So I bought one of this laser pointer, and by chance the address was on the box,
That is
like a hologram sticker.
So sometimes you have to be lucky as well,
Yeah, and then you just show up at the factory's address.
Yeah, so I flew to Taiwan, and I found the address, and that's how it started.
Yeah, because at that time in '94, Taiwan was still manufacturing, let's say, these trinkets until it moved to China. It still was happening there.
But there was no internet. You couldn't order online. You couldn't find it. You could do nothing. Because it took really almost a year until other people found it as well,
Yep.
And this is another story, how they found it.
But you have this address. You're planning to go to Taiwan. Are you calling the factory before, or are you just like, here's the address, I'm just going to show up at the door?
Nothing. I just went there to the factory and showed up at the door,
Easy then.
Yeah, they were like, are you serious? Because I didn't have a lot of money, so I bought like 100 laser pointers. It was like
you're buying their samples at this point, basically.
It was like a joke for them, but
they were quite nice.
Convinced them. They sold me. I came back. I bought 200. come back, buy 500, like, you know.
So it grew like a pyramid.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
But it's kind of jumping head first, you know what I mean? Like you just don't know what you're going to get.
Sounds like the movie.
In between, you always have the fun with the Japanese custom, Japanese immigration and stuff like this.
Is it a bit of a risk at that point to be able to get through?
Yes, of course, because you're a tourist, you know.
Yeah. Did you ever have a suitcase seized where you lost the goods?
No, we always
through. Lucky.
All the time.
And I guess that the package it's quite small.
Yeah, it was very small. Yeah, so it fit in a rucksack. You come like a backpacker, and no problem.
Yeah.
Even if they close your stall in the street, they confiscate your stuff. You went to the station and you go menasai. They believed you. Yeah. The honor there, it's just something else. They really believed that you're not going to open tomorrow because you said go menasai. I will not do it again. Mm-hmm. And of course you did it again because, you know, there was a flaw in the law.
So this is the Japanese police would just come and shut down?
Sometimes. Yeah. It was not very common, but sometimes they would.
I guess that the people you pay also had connections with the police, so the police kind of leave you alone.
Yeah.
But sometimes they have to make a show, so they close you, they take your stuff. And it's
I mean, it's
similar
like
to here, basically.
Similar to here, I mean, the same in China, these electronic markets where the cops will just come in with these sticks and just start knocking stalls down over.
Yes.
And maybe somebody didn't pay the right person.
Yeah, they would actually return you the stuff once you said gomenasai, and they would never charge you anything. They would never give you a fine. They would never ask for money. You never had to sign anything. They wouldn't deport you even.
I have to say, I started to... I had this story maybe twice or 3 times with the police. Yeah. And it was really, really an amazing experience because there are like 20 police guys and you have to apologize to each of them. You apologize in Japanese, and I started, and when I was thinking I go back tomorrow to open again, I started to really feel bad. Because I apologized and there was so much honor involved in this whole thing that I started to really feel bad, you know. And that's when I stopped selling myself on the street. So we became wholesalers, and then I tried to sell to shops and not anymore to the street shops, you know.
To like real Japanese
shops
exactly, and acting as the
wholesaler. Get away from this because I really started to feel I started to feel bad, you know.
Yeah, and was there any danger there where they could deport you, or did you see foreigners getting deported?
Yes, foreigners got deported, but mostly because you're on a tourist visa and you're not allowed to work.
Just put this up, I think, a little bit.
So it's mostly immigration deport you. You know, it's not because you do something really illegal or criminal. It's more like because you're working without a visa, you know.
And what was it like in the early 90s in Japan compared to, and I'm assuming you guys have probably been back in the past maybe 10, 15 years. What was it like then and how has it changed?
Back time, it was the bubble time of Japan. It was booming like crazy. And the Japanese the whole street selling business worked because Japanese wanted to talk to foreigners. This was the whole catch, you know. It wasn't that they couldn't get this ring or whatever it was, that they couldn't get it in the shop. They could get it as well, but for them it was the kick of talking to a foreigner. So everybody you sell something, they were like talking to you, and then you went out with them, you started to know them, and it was really, really fun, you know. They
really took interest in your culture, in your
it was just
everything.
It was the connection where the Japanese could talk to foreigners. Kind of
they can practice their English.
Yeah, just to know them, because Japan was very kind of isolated somehow, you know.
Yeah.
And especially all the Japanese living in the countryside, they came to Tokyo for a weekend, and then meeting the foreigners for them was like an amazing thing. You know?
They probably a lot of them, it was the first time meeting them as well.
So that was the whole story around it, why this worked, you know.
And they love to buy something that has a meaning, anything with a meaning. And buying from a foreigner, that's already a meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, maybe you have something that they couldn't get anywhere else, or not that easy, and comes with a story. I talked to this guy, Gene, and very interesting where he come from, his culture, and all that. It's just adding more and more flavor to that whatever ring or necklace he buy.
Yeah, you weren't even really selling rings, you were selling experiences.
It was the time before the internet also, so it was not so easy for them to just watch something or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
It's the very, very beginning, you know.
And this area it was in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Which area was it? And does this still exist?
Yeah, of course, you know.
Shibuya, Harajuku.
The first shop we had was in Shinjuku.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we had shops in Shibuya, Harajuku. That was where the young Japanese kind of went out, and you know, very, very fun. Roppongi, Ginza.
Yeah.
You know.
And has it changed much? Like again, I'm assuming you've been back since that time.
I mean, the area did not change much. It's still Harajuku is still where the young people are going, and it went a lot up market. Like the street, we remember this called Cat Street, which was all the funky new designers, but without money in the very beginning, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Today there is Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and stuff like this in the same street where 25 years we were selling on the street, you know. So this went really, really up, you know.
I think it's less funky. It was much more fun before, much more down to earth, much more.
Yeah. Today
I
you
don't know.
don't see street shops anymore there. If you see, then you see street shops.
A lot
with,
of commercial power.
with
in this
fake
country.
bags or something like that, more like really illegal stuff. You know, we were not selling illegal stuff. You know.
Yeah.
And what was the cost of living like back then? Because now everyone knows Tokyo. It's
Oh.
probably the most expensive. Was it expensive then?
Yes, at that time it was very expensive, and today the prices are almost the same, like 25 years ago. So today I think Tokyo is cheap. You know, really.
Really?
Today, if I think about Tokyo,
Yeah.
the prices are almost the same like we remember 20, 25 years ago.
What was your apartment like in Tokyo when you're living
We
there?
had like maybe 25 square meter.
Super cute.
Like a
And
hotel,
25 square meter, and we paid about $1,200.
and that's 1994. So
Yeah,
it's probably
95, yeah.
worth
They're
it.
still the same prices.
And we decided
okay.
to raid the gomi, which is the
The garbage.
What is that? Raid.
Yeah, we basically found a lot of nice treasures in the streets of Tokyo nearby our house, and when you pick it up you think like, did anybody actually sleep on this, or did anybody actually use this? Everything looked almost like brand new and super clean. They would
That's-
never put something that was absolutely kaput out there. So the gomi in Tokyo was absolute treasure.
Gomi is the trash.
The
What would you
trash.
find in there?
Everything from a
Anything.
new stereo over clothing over whatever you want.
Shoes, bad.
Because everybody lives in small spaces,
Anything.
you know. So whenever they buy something new, they throw the old stuff out, which is still good, you know. And
I remember
electronics at that time was booming, and you know.
Our house was a mix.
Mix.
A mix of everything that we found and some things that we bought, and it was just really interesting. And we had a blackjack table in the middle of our small apartment, which served as everything, really, really everything.
We just took out of
So
the
it's-
trash, you know.
Did you
Very
keep
nice.
anything from that? Any of these like treasure items that you still have with you now?
No, actually not.
No,
No.
not
Nothing made
really.
it.
No.
We kind of left in a hurry
Okay.
a bit.
Oh, what happened there?
Okay, that came later, yeah.
Yeah.
That came a bit
So
later.
anyway, to continue the story, so
Yeah.
then we basically sold to real shops, and then I met my partner at that time. He was a Swiss guy, so I partnered up with him, and he had real shops in a market in Harajuku. And that means that was the time when I went away from the street business, you know. And he had a proper company, had a proper shop. I had proper ideas, so
Yep.
we partnered up, and it was working fantastic, you know.
And the products you were selling, when did you transition from more, let's say, the trinkets like the laser pointers into the
No,
jewelry?
the products stayed the same, but we
Okay.
were selling the same products in a proper shop, you know, in a market shop basically, but a legal shop where no police could close you or anything, you know.
We always sold jewelry. Just on top of the jewelry, most of the time you add things of interest.
Yeah, at that
Just
time we
like-
were selling T-shirts and watches from Hong Kong and
hats
and
during
hats
the
and stuff from
winter
Thailand,
and
stuff from
just
Mexico, from everywhere.
anything
you know?
that was interesting and different, you would think, okay, if it's not too big, it will go, you know.
So yeah, so money was flowing in left and right, like it was just crazy. You know, it was a crazy time, you know.
So you're the distributor, wholesaler to these retail shops. And how long did you guys stay in Japan before making the next move?
I think we were like about
years.
2 years. No, first we were 2 years.
2 years first, yeah.
And then we were so high on our success that we said, okay, let's go traveling. Pretty stupid when you leave in the best time,
Yeah.
because we
Height
were
of your
making money,
success.
and so we just went quick traveling for like maybe half a year or more.
Yeah, a bit more than half year, and we lost all the connections. And
So almost a year we went traveling around the world, spent a lot of the money we made,
Mm-hmm.
Was a great time, and then
very.
we kind of went back to Japan and things were changing, And the shop we had at that time in the market, we lost that shop because they were building a building there, and so we lost this shop, and we tried other things, and it just was not the same anymore like before,
It was the end of the bubble time. So people start to become really aware of their spendings, and things were just shifting. Economically speaking, they were not as keen to buy things. The reputation of Israelis doing some things that were not right went out. So the street vendors were kind of a bit of renegades at that point. So I guess everything was kind of changing.
Did it change from the foreigners back to the Japanese, or were the foreigners still hanging around?
No, it was more changing to proper big businesses.
Proper big businesses, yeah.
Like all the little guys making money here and there, this kind of stopped, And it was more like then the big wholesalers survived and the little ones kind of died out, and the street business kind of changed to more illegal stuff, which we didn't want to do,
Yeah.
Fake watches, fake bags and stuff like that, So we didn't want to do that, so it got really more and more difficult at that time, So then we looked at other things. We did it for another year or two, but the money was not the same like in the beginning,
And before we jump ahead onto your next step, could you explain a little bit more? What do you mean by the Japanese bubble?
Economical bubble.
They were booming in terms of the entire economy on itself, and in terms of manufacturing was moving into Japan. I mean, this was probably happening after the 60s.
That was 80s.
80s, yes.
80s, 90s. It was.
But
90s was already going down, but the 80s were the big bubble
banks
time.
were suffering though, because the Japanese would buy all the expensive art and all the, expensive jewelry, and they didn't know how to keep the money. They did not understand that.
They were making a lot, but they were also
tomorrow.
blowing a lot.
They were blowing it all.
Yeah,
So-
And did you see the currency, the value of the currency, did it change quite drastically between the time you were there and after this bubble?
Yes, it changed, but not a lot.
80 yen to the dollar in the beginning, and then was the second time
120.
around was 120 to the dollar.
changed
So it did
actually.
change. We lost half the money, our savings.
Yeah.
Nearly half of what we saved the first time around, and then we realized things are not
Not good here
what
anymore.
they seem.
But we were young, and it was so
But we
easy.
also didn't know
Easy
things.
made, easy go. Easy come, easy go.
Yeah, and you had that experience as well, and you had the experience from selling on the street to becoming the distributor. So with that experience, you're planning to make your next move.
We did not have at that time. We were not thinking like this. It just everything just came by chance and by.
Kind of happened.
It just
Really.
kind of happened. There were no plans, no business plan, no nothing, zero. So Japan kind of was not as good anymore. So we looked for other things, and then we said, okay, let's go traveling again.
No, I think we were considering Mexico and Thailand. So we were debating, should we go to Mexico? We loved Mexico, Mexican style jewelry, silver.
Yep.
I thought, okay, with our input there, we could do really a killer. But do I want to live in Mexico? And then Thailand.
The idea was like when we lived in Japan, I went a lot to Mexico to buy jewelry. I went to Thailand to buy jewelry. And all the suppliers we had, I always gave my ideas. And the next time I came back, they were selling my ideas to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea was like, actually what they do, I can do it much better, because I had the idea, but they had the manufacturing, So we were saying, okay, let's go somewhere, either Mexico, let's make our own jewelry, Mexico or Thailand. And then we were traveling in Mexico, and when I saw the security and the guys with the guns in front of all the shops, and Then we said, okay, now we go to
And
Thailand.
we got robbed about 10 times
Yeah,
on
it's-
one trip, so we realized that
It's a bit
maybe
too
not
sketchy.
Such a good
Yeah, we loved the craftsmanship in Mexico. We loved the jewelry, but we
the
didn't like
culture
the...
and everything.
Was this
but
Mexico City or where?
No, it
No,
is.
no.
It's
Tasco.
Tasco. Tasco is the Silver City.
Silver City.
Okay.
But it's all over Mexico. It's just, it's not safe, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, it's great craftsmanship, great people. We love them, but it's just not safe, you know.
Yeah, and it's-
Thailand and Asia it's much more easy, much more safe. And
Safe, yeah.
yeah, that was the reason why we decided for Thailand.
So you made the decision to come to Thailand. You land in Bangkok, I'm assuming. What was next? What was the first step to get
Khao
this
San
business? Khao San Road.
Khao San Road, yeah.
Okay, and back to selling jewelry on the street now in Khao San.
Yeah, no, not
In
on
the
the street.
street,
In
no.
Thailand, you can, as a
No.
foreigner, you don't sell jewelry on the street in Thailand.
Yeah.
Start
No
with
way,
little
yeah.
shop, 3x3 or 6x3?
Yeah, we came to
6x3, I think.
basically we came to Khao San where all the backpackers and yeah, we started to put our own ideas and let some stuff made, and then we got our first little shop, and you know, and then basically I opened our first company, you know, because here you just cannot do it like that, you know.
Yeah, the Thais aren't going to let you kind of go past
You
them.
cannot, you know, no.
Okay, and at this point, you're selling jewelry that you're sourcing from around the world, mostly Mexico.
In the very beginning, I was bringing stuff from Mexico to Thailand and from Thailand to Mexico.
Okay.
But then we started to make things in Thailand, basically. You know, we started to make our ideas here in Thailand and try to sell them, which was quite difficult for jewelry because things go around very fast. You know, I
Yep.
don't want to say get copied very fast, but they come
Very
around
frustrating.
very fast. You know.
So you're buying from current manufacturers in Thailand.
Yeah, you
And then-
give them an idea, you let it make. You know, so you have something unique.
Yep.
But in no time, everybody has the same stuff, so it's not unique anymore. So I was non-stop looking how to do this, how to find something, and then the piercing came along, you know.
This is another product idea to add to the portfolio.
Yeah, exactly.
And which year did you come to Thailand to start this business?
98.
Okay.
99. Yeah.
99. So
99.
there's a little bit of, you're in Japan in 94, 95. And you do that for a couple of years. So there was a year traveling, which brings you up to
Another year back in Japan, and then basically we came.
Okay, and let's connect from selling in Kosan on your own at your own retail shop to owning your own manufacturing
It was
facility.
not a retail, it was a wholesale.
Your own wholesale shop on Kosan. So how did you make the leap from that point to owning your own manufacturing facility in Bangkok?
This goes just step by step, very
Step by
slowly, you know. We had our own first wholesale shop in Khao San. And piercing, basically, I sourced and brought from Korea to Thailand
Okay.
because there was no manufacturing of piercing in Thailand. There was only manufacturing of jewelry like silver and gold. But there was no piercing manufacturing in Thailand yet at that time.
Okay.
So then basically we brought the things from Korea to Bangkok to wholesale because Khao San and Bangkok was the center for all the market sellers and all the little boutiques from all around the world. They come to buy in Khao San.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we slowly got the piercings into these shops. And yeah, and then just slowly we started to make our own things, you know. At that time, Bella left to Italy.
Okay.
Study fashion.
Okay. How long did you go for?
1 year before I became really frustrated and came back to help
Okay.
Mr.
You
with
decided
his new venture with
The,
body piercing.
the fashion industry wasn't your thing, or you just
No,
was it more an issue
more
with
like
Italy?
my whole experience in Italy was not what I expected or not what I wanted from, because I was already 25 and I don't know, it was just a whole bunch of things, and I loved it and then I hated it in the same time. It was this love and hate relationship, and then I thought I wanted to do my own thing. I always wanted to do my own thing. And then he said, well, there's nothing really beautiful for the girls, you know, in body jewelry. Why don't you come and make a collection here for belly, for example? And I thought it was a brilliant idea, and we did, and it was a hit.
So you came back and you started your own designs for body
Yeah.
piercing.
Because
Yes.
piercing in the 90s, when it started, it was just punk style, you know. It was balls and spikes and simple
very
punk
punk,
style.
yeah.
But there was no fashion in piercing at that time, you know.
Nothing cute, nothing striking for girls, nothing
elegant.
Nothing elegant.
So it was an amazing opportunity for us, actually, you know. We came into a new product niche which didn't exist, you know. So even we made something like very unprofessionally, it was still new and unique, you know.
Now, when you say made, you're getting this stuff from South Korea. You're bringing it in, but
that was the basics.
When did you actually start manufacturing your own jewelry?
In the very beginning, opened the company in '99, and at the same time, we started to make little things. We took the stuff from
I made the
Korea.
stuff by hand, actually.
Everything. Could you explain that process? Because I'm sure most people would have no idea how that works. Are you taking raw silver and turning it into jewelry? How does that work?
No, actually, my first line was some kind of attachment that it's for belly. So you put a banana through. So you have to imagine a smaller ball at the top, a bigger ball at the bottom, with or without stone. And then this attachment is made of wire work. Beadwork with wire. So it was actually very wearable. Mm-hmm. It would move with your body. So it was like I used Japanese seed beads and I used crystal Swarovski. Mm-hmm. And the result was fantastic. I would make butterflies and flowers and I don't know, all sorts of things. And it just took off.
And at that time, you have to imagine we didn't have machinery.
That's what I mean.
No.
Or not even I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have machinery. I didn't have people. I had nothing, you know. So we needed to find things you can do easy with your hand, you know.
Well, we were crafty.
So
that's what we were.
She made it this beadwork, and then we hire a few people. We teach them how to do it, and that's how it came. And then maybe I started to buy one little machine and another little thing to help it, and so it grows like step by step.
Do you remember the first machine that you bought?
Yes.
Yeah. What was that?
That was a Dremel Vordom.
Okay. Is this
translation?
Translation, please. Yeah.
That's just a hand drill, basically.
A hand drill.
A hand drill. So at that time, it was the UV sensitive piercing popular. The ones when you go to the club and in the
UV
fluorescent light, they're glowing like blue, green. And so that was popular at that time. And then what I did is I bought this hand drill and I basically drill a hole into this ball, into this plastic ball, which I bought.
Yeah.
I drill a hole inside and I glue a Swarovski stone inside, you know. I glue a crystal into the ball and suddenly I had a ball with a stone, you know.
And it was boom.
And then you had like maybe 10 different plastic UV colors and the crystals have maybe 40 colors and you have different sizes and suddenly I had 500 different items, you know, which I could produce on order and deliver within a few days, you know, in my shop.
If you had like an order of, let's say, 500 pieces of one SKU, one piece, let's say, you had the labor to help turn that around in a few days. I mean,
it started very slow, you know.
Okay.
It was in the beginning we had our wholesale shop where people came in. They said like, okay, 5 here, 10 there, 5 here. So I hired a few boys and I bought a few of these hand drill machines and we were drilling them, you know. And my first order, I remember I started to buy this drill because I had an order for 1,000 of these balls with stones. So I was sitting all night long and drilling these holes and gluing the stones by myself. And I produced 1,000 of these balls within one night, you know. And then I hired some boys around. I teach them how to do and I made my catalog suddenly with 500 different items just out of these balls and stones.
Just different colors, different shapes, different sizes. And the people working, were they Thai? Were you ever bringing on backpackers as well, or was it strictly Thai?
No, just Thais.
Because you needed the cheap labor, you know. That's how it worked, you know. That's how Asia works, you know.
And then I'll kind of digress a little bit. So you're at Khao San Road still at this point. Were you interacting with the tourists and the backpackers, or were you guys too focused on the business?
No, but the backpackers in Khao San mixed with the business people, you know, because at that time, like people who make a market back in Europe in summer, they go traveling in winter, and while they travel, while they backpack, they also buy stuff, whatever they see around here in Thailand, in India, or wherever they go, you know. So it kind of, the backpackers are also the buyers for their own
Remember how he gave me
stores,
that bangle in the plane? So
Yeah.
basically it's the same idea. He bought some jewelry from his travels. He brings home, he goes and sell it back home. And many people were doing that at that
all
time.
started in the hippie times,
Yeah,
in
it's
the
the hippie
70s,
time.
where
Yeah.
people go backpacking and then they see interesting stuff, they bring it back home and sell it back home,
Bring a
Because there was no
suitcase
internet,
full of stuff.
there was no China to order one piece from
Yeah.
Europe or from America, wherever, So you could bring back interesting stuff which you could sell to the people who did not travel, So, and then this became into the market stalls in Europe, festivals, sellers, markets. And when they went traveling, they bought stuff, and we were just a supplier for this kind of people.
And what was the next major leap in the business where you went from even handcrafting and besides the smaller machines to large scale manufacturing? When did that happen?
No, it didn't happen in one go.
No.
It just happened over the years. It's one little step, another one. It just
So you
grew
just
over 20 years,
How many different buildings were you operating out of as you moved? Like moving to a bigger one and a larger one and a larger one?
We had, our first office was like 10 minutes from Khao away. Like I had one of these townhouses, like these typical Thai townhouses in Bangkok. I rented for 12,000 baht.
Yep.
And it took maybe a year or two. We had 6 of them,
Mm-hmm.
like beside each other. And and then we took a bigger place just around the corner and it just went step by step,
And throughout this, you're just learning in the process, especially in the equipment and the machinery and
You just learn one by one. You buy a little, you want to do something, an item, you have an idea, and then you just learn how to do this item.
Mhm.
It's was a bit more complicated because you couldn't look it up on YouTube,
Yeah, you had to figure it out.
So you had to, I was sitting sometimes days of figuring out what I say today is like really, simple things.
Where did you get your knowledge? Were you attending trade shows?
No, like you ask around other people, you try, there was no internet to learn.
No.
I mean, it was the beginning of internet, but it was not as easy as today to learn stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But you talk around, you ask people, you
try things.
you figure it out on the
Curiosity
way.
builds up.
And then when
excitement.
usually when you buy a little machinery, then the supplier of the machine also teach you how to use it, how to do this, how to do that.
What is maybe the more technical machine in your facility
At the moment?
that at the moment that probably the average person, even let's say starting off at your at a very early stage in, let's say, jewelry manufacturing, that would just blow their minds. They probably wouldn't even understand it all. Is there anything very technical?
You mean at the moment?
At the moment.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
There's a lot of technical stuff now.
Yeah.
But today I have people, we employ engineers, we employ specialists, and
I think the PVD coating
So
machine is probably
the most complicated or high tech what we have at the moment is a PVD coating machine. It's called physical vapor deposition.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big chamber, and it's kind of a sputtering, and it's a bit too much for now. But
Yeah, before we go into too much detail on that, does that give you a competitive advantage over your competitors in this industry
Yes,
in
of
Thailand?
in Thailand, no, there is one or two other companies who have the same, but usually yes. It gives
You guys are operating at
But I think our strength is the many different technologies we have, So not one technology by itself is not really unique, but because we have so many different things that makes us unique,
And you've went from selling to, let's say, the backpackers in Thailand that were coming through Khao Road. Now who are you selling to? Who are your primary clients?
The backpackers are kind of this finished.
It's for the market sellers, actually.
Market sellers in Khao. This finished maybe, let's say, 10 years ago.
Quite a long time ago,
Yeah, when the internet took over and people could source their things pretty easy.
And they could not keep up.
You
They were simple people. They could not keep up.
Yeah, and then
Things
also
changed.
the demand for quality got higher and higher. So these little shops in Khao just couldn't keep up anymore. And then the market sellers, this kind of went down a bit. And today, most of the piercing is selling in proper studios, in nice shops, and not really in the market
Jewelry
anymore.
stores.
So are you selling mostly to wholesalers in Europe or retailers in Europe?
We sell to all of them.
All of them.
So mostly to wholesalers and also retailers, basically worldwide, not only Europe.
Okay. And is China producing as well jewelry? I know there's some place, Yiwu maybe. There's Yiwu, right.
Yes.
And in terms of your quality comparing to China, what is the difference on the manufacturing side, maybe in machinery and process? What differentiates you guys?
The difference is that we don't care about the cost price.
Okay.
I want to make, because body jewelry, what we understood on the early stage was that body jewelry is not like fashion jewelry, you know. When you wear a fashion ring or a necklace, the price is the most important thing, because people buy it, they have fun for a few days, they throw it in a corner and it's gone. But body jewelry, because it's in the body, people don't take it off so easy, so the quality needs to be much better. And this is what the Chinese did not understand, or even until today they don't understand. You know.
On the factory side, what are those specific details that can differentiate the quality that almost any buyer would have no idea that this is why this product is better? I mean, I can explain that on some electronic stuff that I've done. It's quite technical, but in your industry, what are those differences?
You basically add value, you know, like you make an extra step of polishing the things by hand and not polish it only machine. Or you just make a better QC process, you make a better quality assurance process. You can
use nicer stones.
You can get the cost up to endless, basically, you know, and you need to make a compromise between good quality and reasonable price, you know. But the Chinese factory will mostly don't make this compromise. They will just go for the cheap price.
Where do they cut corners to save costs? The Chinese.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
I think mostly polishing and stone.
Polishing.
Yeah, it's you can cut corners everywhere.
Yeah, you can cut. Yeah, pretty much everywhere, including having a perfect system on how you sell or how you tackle the whole thing, or how you keep track of things.
Just a stone in a jewelry can be from a precious stone that costs hundreds of dollars down to a plastic imitation who costs less than 1 cent.
Quality of the stone and gem. Like this one you guys gave me. What is this here? Yeah.
What type of stone is it? Wood beads, no?
No. Matte onyx.
Matte onyx.
Yeah, Bella gave me. You did this, right?
Matte onyx set with cubic zirconia.
And then what is this quality here? Because I had another one I bought on Lazada. I don't know.
That's
it
steel.
fell apart in like a day.
Which one?
The one from Lazada. I don't know what it was, but
that's with steel beads as well in between. So the steel won't discolor.
Oh, you mean the wire?
The wire.
If I stretch that, would it snap at a certain point? Is there a tension?
Humidity is not the best friend of this kind of material. So of course, in time it will give in.
But even there are different qualities on this one as well.
Yes, but it won't last forever because the humidity here, it's disintegrating that kind of material.
It's like my surfboard leash over here, because I left it up here a few days and I went out surfing and a little wave and it just snapped because of the humidity.
Yeah, humidity.
It just destroyed it.
A bit of an enemy.
But every product you can make it from cheap to very expensive. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So you need to understand your industry, your market, and do the right thing. Don't be greedy in the wrong place, you know. And that worked for us very well, you know.
I remember, like when I was a kid, it was very famous where people would use body piercing jewelry on their ears, and then their ear would go green. Or you wear a ring and your finger goes green. Why does that happen?
That's brass.
It's brass. So this is what's. So they're selling it as, I don't know, silver.
That's
I
not
don't know if they sell it as silver,
especially in Mexico. This happens a lot when people go on vacation.
Alpaca.
Costume jewelry, alpaca or alpaca, yeah.
So
but brass does that too.
In material, it's the same. You have many different materials, and every material
different alloys,
has different reactions to people. But it doesn't mean everybody gets a bad reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe 20, 30 years ago, nickel was normal in jewelry, but today nickel is a no-go in jewelry, you know. But
for jewelry,
it's very regulated.
For jewelry, even
today.
for watches or for things, because many people have nickel allergies, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I particularly have a silver allergy.
Silver allergy.
Silver allergy. You don't have a silver allergy.
No, you don't have a silver
There
allergy.
is no silver allergy. You have an allergy against something that's mixed with the silver.
Really?
It's the nickel release on your skin. Yeah.
That's the
some cheap silver.
Like it gets red.
Yeah, that's the nickel in the silver they mix inside.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So whatever
It's a
we
part
do
of the
today,
alloy, because silver is only 92.5, and the rest it's an alloy. It's a
on the
mix.
rest is
Yeah.
the
So
allergy.
and nickel
Yeah.
makes it very easy to manufacture. So
Yeah.
before there
Material's
was
cheaper.
Yeah, or there was everywhere nickel inside because it's easier to manufacture. You know,
Mhm.
and today you have to work with materials that are nickel free, which is much more difficult. You know.
Mhm. And we'll get into that on the Arobela side. We'll start talking about those nickel-free products because you said you had a new one you've been working on. Before we do that, I wanted to pull up your manufacturing website, and maybe we can just discuss just a couple products on there. What are you proud of? What are your favorite pieces, and a little bit of details behind that as well. And also so people can, we'll give you a quick plug so they can find you if we got any big, big tycoons out there looking to do business in Thailand.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you want to bring on any more business. It sounds like you got a lot on your plate, but let's see. What's the factory website?
The factory website is steelandsilver.com.
Steel
and silver.
and A&D?
Right? Yeah, A&D, just like you say it.
Steel and silver.com.
Yes, it started from the
One
beginning
second.
when we still made silver. So we made steel and we made silver.
Stainless steel, probably.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
My Wi-Fi.
Today we don't make silver anymore and we almost don't make steel anymore, you know. So
Why is that?
because materials are changing and over the time, you know, so the choice of
Evolution.
name
Can you say it again?
steel, STEEL, A&D.
Who's that pretty lady on the
Silver.
screen?
Thank you, thank you.
Silver.
Yes.
Silver.com.
Yeah.
.com. Yeah. All right, here we go.
That's us. Yep.
So we'll okay. We pulled that up.
See? Cobalt, chromium, nickel free.
Yeah, let's take a look at a couple things, and then what was that?
Which one?
Did you get that in your ear?
Yeah, I got that.
Oh, we heard something. I think from the website. Got zapped. Is there any thing in particular you'd want to show us on here?
This one?
Cobalt, chromium, nickel free.
I mean, these
It's
are
a
like
banner.
banners, and
It's
when
a
you click on
banners.
these banners, you will come to all these products you see on the banners. It's basically for the ordering. This website is mostly like a website for our customers to order.
Wow, that's loud.
Something on the website.
That you can click there if you want.
No, you see,
You can
don't click there because you just see the items.
What you can probably do is there's probably volume on your computer that you can turn off.
Okay.
Turn that volume off, and we won't get zapped again.
But you could go in About Us go on the menu on top.
That's a little quieter.
On the right side, About Us.
Okay.
Yeah, here. And then you could go to try About Us.
Our company.
I don't even know what's there. So yeah, you see some picture. Okay. Some
Okay. So this
team
is
working. Yeah. That was our last party. Usually we have, before the COVID, we had every year our big end of the year party. And
Actually, we have 22 years this year.
yeah.
and how many people?
We had yesterday. We had our 22nd.
22nd anniversary. company.
22nd.
Yeah.
And how many people are at are working at the factory?
At the moment, there are 500.
500.
So you see different production stuff.
Okay, it's we will try to come visit at some point.
Very
once this-
interesting.
I don't think we can say the C word though. We'll call it the current situation.
The current situation.
Otherwise, I think YouTube shadow bans you.
Oh, really?
I think
I
so.
cannot say COVID.
No, it's done. This video, we have to cut that out. I think the video they just like destroy. Okay. So this website's mostly for your current clients, retailers, wholesalers.
Yes, that's
so come
mostly
on.
for ordering products from us.
How many products do you guys have now?
At the website, in our catalog, are about 4,500
4,500
products, not SKUs.
products.
These are products we call the master product, and then this one splits up into sizes and colors.
Yeah.
So, and then each size, each color, it's their own SKU,
10,
which
so
we have about 100,000.
Yeah. So at least 10 to 20 per product.
Depends on the product. But we have about 100,000 active SKUs.
Oh my.
About 200 in total, 200,000, but active about 100,000 SKUs.
I think I need some time off.
Yeah, that's a lot. And every single one of those products, are they designed and developed by you guys, or are there any other influences that kind of helped out?
Of course, there's a lot of influence from all around, from the industry, from trends, from
Of course,
everywhere,
trends, demands.
Some things is our ideas, some things we take from somewhere, change it.
I think it's
maybe,
also
or-
it's the obvious evolution of things in the business. You know,
What's trending now in the body piercing industry?
the ear.
The ear.
everything on the ear.
It's everything about the ear.
And what about for the jewelry, like the type of jewelry?
Gold. Real gold.
Gold, and it gets finer and more refined, more and
Yeah.
more petite, beautiful. It's becoming really like amazing fine jewelry.
Fine jewelry, yeah.
Yeah.
How do these trends begin? Does it start with a celebrity? Where do they take off? I mean, or how do they snowball?
Celebrities can bring a certain location. For example, when 3-4 years or a few years back, Rihanna was wearing a
4
septum.
years ago.
Yeah.
The septum ring, then the septum suddenly became popular. But the whole evolution of what kind of jewelry we're selling is, I think it's a cycle of this industry. Because the industry is now maybe 30 years old. So it starts with normal things, cheaper stuff, then it's coming the cheap wave.
Don't worry. I think YouTube doesn't care about that. That's all right.
It's okay.
That's C words
So
allowed.
it's basically once this market, this industry gets a bit more popular, some cheap manufacturers go in and flood the market worldwide, which we also took a dive at that time, and it got more difficult. But then the ones who make the better quality, have the better ideas, they're surviving and doing better than ever, you know. So I think it's the normal cycle of products, you know, or of an industry.
Is it hard to foresee these trends in advance? And do you see anything that could be coming more popular in the next couple of years?
I mean, for an outsider, it's for sure difficult. For us, it's pretty easy now because we are inside, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We are kind of, I don't know if we are on top, but we are somewhere near the top.
You guys are the dictators now.
We are, I don't know. There is also no market research about the piercing industry, so we don't know what's our market shares, where we are on top. But we feel like we are kind of between the people on top, let's say, between the companies on top.
Yeah.
So we can feel it, you know. When there is a movement in the industry, I feel it, you know. It's like in my blood, you know.
You can see it happening well in advance.
I cannot say what's happening in 5 years, but I see the trend where it's going, you know, which I don't tell you.
Oh, yeah, of course. Save those secrets.
No, but it becomes a feeling.
If
when you
we
work
had
with
some
this,
different coffee, I think I'd get you to tell us.
It's a sixth sense now.
Yeah.
It's not
really
something you
sense.
learn or it's
No.
just a feeling you get after 20 years working with a product, you know. It's normal. You for sure know also where the mushroom go.
Let's see. It's a
okay.
basic product.
You know, Cardi B just had a couple of dermal anchors, couple of months ago.
What is that? It's like built right into the skin.
Yeah, and that gained popularity over the last couple of months, for
So
example.
the celebrity, they make certain items popular, but they don't give a direction to the whole industry, you know.
No,
Do you
but
think
it
they're being
says something.
influenced by manufacturers or people, designers behind the scene?
I think it's starting in the piercing now, but not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
Like,
yet.
because I'm assuming that's probably what happens in the fashion industry.
Because in our industry, there are no big players like this who really can do that, you know.
Who are the bigger players in your industry as the retailer? Like Swarovski?
No, Swarovski is not selling body piercing.
No?
The funny thing is that all the big companies in the fashion industry is not touching the piercing. For whatever reason that is, it might be the bad image piercing always had, or the difficulties of being different to normal jewelry, or the people are not understanding what it is, or they're not believing in it, Or maybe for companies like Swarovski, Pandora, Thomas Sabo, maybe the piercing niche market is really so small that it doesn't interest them. I don't know.
And like Cartier, like do they? You could see them getting into the body piercing industry.
In the future, yes, but not yet.
No.
In the future, everybody will have to get into the body piercing industry. Everybody.
Because we were talking about a little bit about that before when we were at your shop. We did a video for people of Phuket, and you were talking a little bit about that as well in terms of. You pretty much you have the factory down pat. You have these processes in place where you could essentially, and you kind of get where I'm going with that. If you want to touch on that, as I think you did want to.
Yeah, of course. That's like I said before. Everybody of the big players will sooner or later have to get into this.
Yeah.
It's like when you sell jewelry and you sell rings and you sell necklaces, and now suddenly the people want toe rings and anklets. You will sell toe rings and anklets. It's just normal, And the piercings is just another part of the jewelry. Now it's not anklets and rings and necklaces anymore. Now it's also the contouring on the ear. It's the septum. It's the belly bar. It's the thing. And it just will sooner or later become a part of the jewelry industry. And even companies like Swarovski, Pandora, Cartier, or whoever you want to call it, they will be not able to avoid that anymore,
Do you think that the tattoo industry helped move the body piercing industry in the sense that tattoos were always seen, you're a pirate, you're in jail, you're a biker, and now they kind of became fashionable.
Rebel.
A rebel, but it's no longer, it's very fashionable tattoos now. So that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just guessing that the tattoo industry might have helped to push the acceptability of the body piercing industry.
I think it always went parallel. Like the tattoo and piercing shops, it was all kind of one shop together always.
Yeah.
And it kind of went parallel. And because the tattoo was booming so much over the years now, actually the piercing got neglected from many shops. And our experience is now that our customers who concentrate on the piercing, who basically don't have the tattoo anymore as a focus, they're doing much better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of now separating from the tattoo. And that's what we also do in our shop here. We are separating from the tattoo,
Yes, and okay, so let's jump into that. Arobella's Body Piercing and Jewelry, Boat Avenue, Phuket. Go there, buy. I don't know if there's a... I don't think there's a...
Go get pierced.
Phuket, yeah, go get pierced. You were explaining that these types of shops are becoming more popular in Europe and are essentially non-existent in Thailand. So how did this idea all come together to create Arobela's?
I mean, there are piercing shops in Thailand, of course, but it's...
Not at that quality and that level.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there are piercing shops, but again, they're mostly together with tattoo. So it's tattoo and piercing, and they all kind of made their money with the tattoo. So the piercing got neglected. And
neglected, yeah.
Yeah, and so nobody really concentrates or focus on the piercings,
Mm-hmm.
And so we are the first one here, I guess, who make a pure piercing studio without any tattoo, without anything else, that really cares about the quality and the process of making the piercing,
From my experience, I think that what you see even in like the most posh tattoo and piercing shop in Bangkok, it's in a famous shopping mall.
Mm-hmm.
Even they have like really very low quality jewelry, and the piercer does not have any basic training.
Mm-hmm.
It's just enough daredevil to put holes in people's body, but he doesn't really know the way it should be done. So I
doesn't
think
have the technique.
No. And I think it's a form of art that it's not spread enough. Like, it's just not taught anywhere. There are no schools for it here. There is no proper shops where you can actually buy this at a whatever quality your budget will allow.
Does this exist in the world, these types of piercing schools, let's say?
There
In
exist
Europe,
some,
yes.
not like...
It's not very widely spread, but it exists.
Some people are doing this on a small scale, but no big scale schools or anything, Nothing supported from a government or anything.
And in your body piercer you brought in from Germany, Marcus.
Yeah.
So what's a little bit about his background? How did he become an expert in the field?
Because he works in this industry for a very, very long time, and he learn and get better, and he like it himself,
He love it.
And is that the process from back? I don't want to say back in the day, but the old process. Your experience was from learning on the job. But do you foresee that schools will begin to open where they're going to train the body piercers before they even get into the field, and there'll be some sort of certification process?
I don't see that happen from the governments. But from businesses, yes, it's getting more and more. The little shops are a bit problem because they try to keep everything for themselves. They don't want to teach other people their knowledge, which is understandable, but we want to have a wider view and help the industry on a bigger scale. So we need to kind of teach other people, teach more and more people to do the job.
And you're planning to do this at your shop, right?
Yes, that's actually that was the main reason for opening this shop. One reason was for Bella to give her the feedback directly with the customer, so to have a playground for the design. And the other reason was to eventually kind of create a school to teach more and more people. My idea was like, if people come here for a holiday to Phuket, because they love it, they come here anyway, so they could have a little course on jewelry, on piercing, just to get more knowledge on it and stuff,
And that's it's something else to do in Phuket, especially even if it's a rainy day. But a lot of people, they'll come here and they'll do the Thai cooking classes, but this is another option as well.
Yeah, because if you're in this business already and you get some more knowledge, you sell better. We sell better also in the factory, So it's a win-win situation for everybody,
When are you guys planning to open up that part of the business?
I have no idea.
Not yet. It's still early.
Yes, it's too early. Yeah.
It's very quiet here.
Yes, it is. It's because of the current situation.
Yes, the current situation.
Yeah.
What? Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. The question was for Arobela's. What was the aha moment when you decided, okay, this is this idea originally arose, and let's run with that and see where that goes. Can you recall the day, the time, or when that happened?
I know it. Yeah, you know it.
I know it.
It's a clean story. It's not X-rated.
Sort of clean story.
Okay.
You wanna tell it?
Yeah.
Let me tell my perspective and see if it matches.
Let's see if it matches.
yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were walking on the beach with Sam, our dog, and he said he was bored. He's reached pretty much whatever he wanted to reach, and there's nowhere to go. And so we were brainstorming. He was absolutely convinced that something like this will take off, and he started really, really considering the idea of opening a shop, which he might be able to franchise. But first and foremost, to give us the feedback, direct feedback.
That was the intention of the shop.
Yeah.
To get the feedback on the product before you went into mass production and trying to sell it to the main client.
You have to imagine, like, for someone in my position, like, I design the stuff, we sell it to our customers, which are, shops, wholesalers, but they don't really give me the feedback. Me. So I'm often wondering, we can go by statistic and say, okay, this item is selling, so maybe more items in this direction or not. However, I do not have direct feedback. I would like to see this myself in a ear curation on somebody, which I can maybe dictate how it's going to go, or I have my own vision how this ear should look like and whatnot. Everybody will have a different idea of what to do with that one item. Every piercer, every shop, So having feedback, it's huge for me.
So the one part was the feedback access, immediate access, like your playground, and the other side was the concept of opening up a school.
Opening up a school.
School is also, again, only a part of this whole concept.
Yeah.
Because our business is like, we design, we manufacture, we wholesale, we sell to the shops. So what's missing is the last part. the last part of the piercing studio, basically. Not even the retail shop to sell the piercing, but to make the piercing. Our industry is a niche market industry, which is growing. And the demand is growing faster than studios can supply. So that means the problem in our industry to get bigger is there are not enough studios out there, not enough good piercers out there, not enough people with knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want.
But the demand
help.
is growing quicker than the supply.
The demand is there from the people. The problem is that they don't find proper shops, proper studios where they can get good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the people, the end customer doesn't know that even. Imagine you're in a city somewhere in the world and you see these piercings online and they all look gorgeous and you want to go somewhere. And then you come to some tattoo and piercing shop and he give you some cheap piercing and you have an infection after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That means that was it for you for the piercing. You will take it out and you will not make another piercing. You will not tell your friends how awesome it is. That means your industry got hurt big time there already. But if you have a good studio and this person gets a nice piercing and she's happy and it heals good and she will tell her friends and the friends tell to the friends. So it's automatically growing,
Yeah,
and that's the biggest problem in our industry is there's not enough studios out there,
Yeah. And maybe you heard of a ear curation, even in Vogue, and most magazines have taken off to write about ear curation. And you go to the studio and in your mind you have this ear curation with all this gorgeous stuff, and that's not going to happen if you go to just a random studio.
It might happen. But you have to be lucky to live near a place where they have a good studio, But they're just not enough out there.
It can be that it's not going to happen as well.
Don't you think that there should be a protocol or certification to certify your let's say your piercing facility with, let's call it ABC certification?
There should be. There are approaches to it. There is like stuff about hygiene, which also applies to, for example, in Europe, they mostly check your studio the same they would check a restaurant. For your hygiene stuff and things. Yes, this is okay in the Western world, not in the...
Would you ever create that part of the business where you create the certification process company like a, for example, in medicinal mushrooms, we have to get our products certified by the
FDA?
Well, because it's not a drug, that we don't need it. It cannot be certified by FDA because it's not a drug, but we have to get our products ISO 17021 certified. It's a type of protocol.
Right, yeah.
And then you have to find certification companies in the US that are this certification. And then those companies, they make a killing. They're just printing money.
So, no, in our industry, it's not that far yet. I mean, it will eventually one day probably come. I mean, there are approaches to it, especially in America. There is one association that tries to make standards, which is a good thing, but it's also a lot of lobbying going on.
Yeah, of course.
Which is not very objective and trying to support their own manufacturers, their own things, So, and everything that comes out of Asia is usually bad.
Yeah, that's they want to keep the manufacturing in the U.S., but the reality is the product probably comes from Asia.
But the approach of this association is a good thing, and it helps everybody. It's just the way they do it. Of course, they wanna use this what they make for themselves. Of course,
Yeah,
which is normal. I understand it, but it's the right way, definitely,
And in terms of your, let's say, quality control processes in the piercing studio, we can call it. What are you guys doing exactly? Do you want to talk a little bit about why you, in terms of your cleanliness, your QC process, your preparation? What are you guys doing specifically?
You mean in the studio?
In the studio.
Yeah, the studio basically works like a clinic.
Yeah.
We follow the same rules, or even better rules than many hospitals and clinics I saw in Thailand.
Like, for example, we were discussing you are changing your sterilization gloves from touching the piercing to different material. Maybe talk about that a bit.
Yes, we use for every piercing, we use sterilized gloves. So, of course, when the piercer puts a sterilized glove on, he cannot touch anymore a draw or another thing, and we take care of these things. So every piece that's used for this piercing is basically sterilized.
And
proper sterilized with documentation, with reports, with everything. So if somebody get pierced and in a year he comes back, we can tell him exactly when it was sterilized, how it was sterilized, and everything. You know.
Yeah, and especially, well, you are Austrian, but let's say borderline on Germany.
Oh.
But these, I'm not going there. But I mean, we know people from that part of the world. It's stereotypical. Your processes are quite strict, which is, I think that's important for the audience. Maybe only deal with Austrian. I won't say German. Only deal with Austrian people that are involved in the body piercing industry, because you know for sure you're not cutting corners.
No.
Of course, but that's also like on the long run, this is how you win the trust of your customers. You know?
Exactly.
What we experience here is that everybody who comes in the shop, they look first and they cannot believe what they see, you know, because they never see something like this. You know, they say it's more professional than any clinic, any hospital they ever see. You know.
Yeah, and just like you said, if the body is that the terminology, the body piercer, the person performing the body piercing, the body piercer is to put on his sterilization gloves and then go open the drawer to get out his equipment. I mean,
yeah, it's a no-go. Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
You know, you can, you know, since we basically set up all these processes, I know more about it. You know.
Yeah.
So whenever I go to a clinic or to the dentist or wherever, I'm watching the people, you know, I watch the nurse, what she does, and, you know, and it's pretty shocking, I have to tell you. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's even like, let's say street food is an example. How many times do you go out and eat and the girl serves you, or not the girl or the guy, serves you the food, but she's also handling your money. And these are, you know.
Yeah, that's on a, yes, but there in piercing, we basically... we pierce people where people are bleeding, and there is a no-go. You know, with food you might have some little food poison or something, but
piercing is
with blood is a bit a different story. You know,
what types of I don't know if we should talk about that, but maybe it's good. What types of like infections or diseases can happen in body piercing? Can you, like, for example, can you a lot of jiu-jitsu?
It's not really like that. You get the disease from the blood of the person you pierce. It's more like if you don't work clean, the person is more likely to get an infection, you know?
Yeah.
So the more sterile you work, the more likely this will heal without problems, you know?
Yeah. And that equipment you're using for piercing, it's obviously it's used one time and you're throwing it out. And the quality I saw in your shop, I mean, the quality looked, it's not cheap, let's say.
You mean the tools?
The tools you're using.
Yeah, the tools is kind of a standard thing, you know. Other people use the same, you know.
Yeah.
That's not the thing. It's more about the process, how you do it, you know. So everything is really sterilized and it's cleaned properly after, and it's like re-sterilized for things you use more often, like the tools, the metal tools. And other things like you have one-way stuff, you know, like all the needles, all the gloves. That's one way. You use it, you throw it, you know. And even there, how you throw it, you know, it's also a difference, you know. You just throw it in the bin or you throw it properly. You know, we have own boxes for needles.
How is it disposed of?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we'll jump back to where we were discussing about the business and the next plans. What's the end goal for you guys? After, because like Bella explained, you're walking on the beach with Sam. You're I don't want to say bored in your current job, but you know.
No, I'm not bored at all.
No.
We weren't bored.
I'm not bored. You
but
know?
There's a process in place, and maybe you're looking for something else.
It was just that basically I reached all the goals I always had. So
correct.
I reached the goals, and then it's kind of, okay, what are the next goals?
What are the next goals? So, but what is the end goal of this? I don't want to call it not an Arobela project, but this business. What is the end goal of that for you, for both of you guys?
You want to start?
Does it align?
We start.
We need that game. What's it called? Where you guys both write on a piece of paper and flip it.
And finish each other's sentences.
You can say 8 or 10 or something. You know? That's what I'm just trying to figure out. You know? Okay. Yeah, basically, I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea. You know. I think just the next goals and the next things we are doing are just, it's getting bigger and bigger. And my feeling is it's just getting too big for us. Because the niche is getting really bigger and the industry is getting bigger, and we have an amazing factory with amazing people. And so what would be next? Now we open our own shop, and what could be the next? The next could be a a school, maybe franchising the shop, maybe having 100 shops, maybe having a chain, but it's just too much for us, you know.
And if a company such as Cartier came to you and said, "Hey,"
you just spoke his mind.
that would depend on the person or the company that comes and the intention they have.
Okay.
But if a big company comes and would like and believe in the industry, believe in the niche, I'm very open to anything, you know.
Okay. Well,
but if somebody comes that does not understand the industry and don't believe in it, I also don't have to, you know. Like I don't need it.
You want to make sure they're also aligned with your beliefs, your
I'm very
business.
attached to the industry, you know. I love my job. I love what we do, you know. And
me too. Not ready to let go anytime soon.
Not ready to leave.
in the best case scenario, I would like still to be involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
But
to some extent, at least.
Yeah, I would like to be still involved. I mean, we have a knowledge of products which you cannot get anywhere these days. You cannot hire somebody with this knowledge. So, of course, we would still like to be involved, you know. But
and if that is at the body piercing shop and franchising and involved in the schools, that's a little bit more hands-on, and you can stay local in Phuket from that.
Yeah, I don't need to stay local. I hope we can travel again soon, you know.
I don't know if that's
we love to travel, you know.
My God, yeah, who knows?
You know, we
Current
love
situation.
to travel, you know, like, and I like to stay involved. I love to work. I'm not, you know.
Yeah.
But we're getting older. We're getting older, and the business is just getting too big, and it's like the everyday business is lots of pressure, you know. And I also believe that there is much more potential which we can never do until. No way.
The sky is, and it's, do you feel that this industry, even though it's been around for 30, 40 years, is it just kind of getting started now? Do you feel it's really about to take off to something much larger?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. I think the potential is there to take off, but like I said before, you don't have the studios, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the people.
Yeah.
So somebody need to come in with the right resources to believe in it, and then this can explode, you know. Mm-hmm. Because the new generations are growing up, you know. Why is it booming now, the piercing? Because the new generation is growing up, is getting older. They can decide now by themselves they want the piercing. They don't have to ask the parents anymore. They have some money, and the next generation is coming, you know. In the next few years, there's one generation after another coming, and it's gonna eat from the jewelry industry, you know. Definitely, you know. It's not the industry that grows by itself, but the jewelry industry is huge, and piercing is just a very small niche of this jewelry industry, and it will grow in the jewelry industry. Will take bigger and bigger percentage, you know.
So that's a good segue for, I think, jumping more into the actual product and what you guys do at Arobela. So maybe let's pull up the Arobela website, and you guys can kind of direct us from there. We can look at a few different products. You can explain them a little bit more in detail, especially for you're talking about your new nickel-free products and how they're revolutionary and going to change the market. So let's look at a couple of those. Yeah, Arobela.com. It's AROBEL.
You will not see here much from the. Go back better to the other website.
Go back? Okay.
So if you go up now, you see this banner here. That's basically our new material.
Okay.
Which is a cobalt chrome alloy that is nickel free. It's used in the dental industry, in the surgery for hip joints and many things. And we are the only company in the body piercing industry who manufacture this material. It took us a few years to basically find out how to do it on a commercial scale.
Does that are we able to go to a piece? Is there maybe a
you can click on the banner if you find the banner.
Not this banner.
One, not this
go
one.
back to the arrow. Yes.
Yeah, go back to the first banner.
Back one more.
Yeah, now you click.
Now
on
you
this
click.
one.
Yeah.
Click that banner. Does it click? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
This is
the wrong banner.
That was the wrong banner. Go
Right.
back again.
Was the wrong banner.
One
This one, yeah?
second.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be the link wrong. Oops.
Let's find out.
Let's thing is that the link is not working.
Okay.
We could probably go to the jewelry. Piercing or jewelry?
You can go on material.
On material
perhaps.
piercing, yeah. Go on piercing.
Piercing.
Yeah.
Material.
Material.
And cobalt chrome.
oh, there you
Down.
go.
CO.
Co.
Yeah, yeah.
Up one.
Up a little
Up
bit.
one more.
One more.
There you
Yes.
go. Okay.
Somebody gonna lose their job.
Damn.
I can see from here.
Hey.
No, not you.
No,
I
not
mean,
you.
because
in
the link
office
were
because
not
the
working.
link was
you know?
showing gold.
Okay.
Click that.
So hard to see. Yeah, it is not working, the link.
No, it's
Okay.
working. It's loading. I can see.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Somebody else
no.
gonna lose their job.
Oh god. Look what we
The
did.
second person right there.
Who is this web designer?
It's not working. Try to click again. Click again. It's gonna work. Forbidden.
I think it's your internet.
Yeah, it's
Cannot
our
be my
internet.
website.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so I think we can look at it from here.
Yeah, it's okay. But how you stopped?
The banner just keeps going.
I can stop it.
Okay.
Nice. Beautiful.
There we go.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah, what are we looking at here?
Beauty.
Beauty. No, I'm
That's what I see. I'm sure different people see different things.
Cocro NF. What is the
Cobalt
Cocro?
Cobalt chromium.
Cobalt chromium.
Chromium.
Nickel free.
Nickel
Yeah.
free.
Can that tongue twister? Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, describe a little bit for us. Now I've put
It's
full
a-
screen.
It's a material. It's a alloy from cobalt and chromium and some other things, which the specialty is nickel free because many people have a nickel allergy. Because usually surgical steel, which is used, has nickel, which is usually okay because it doesn't release a lot of nickel into the body, but it still has nickel. So that's a material. It's used in the medical industry for dental implants, for hip surgery, for all kinds of things, because of the way it's manufactured. You know, like usually medical industry uses titanium and this material, and it's just different manufactured than titanium. It's a different technology, and we started years ago to develop this to do it on a commercial scale. You know, because when you talk a hip joint or a dental implant, it's no problem to charge $200-300 for the implant.
Yeah.
But when you sell body jewelry, you cannot charge $200 for body jewelry. So you need to find a way to manufacture it on a commercial scale that the prices are reasonable and sellable, you know. And that's what we did over the last few years. And we found a way together with suppliers of machinery or suppliers of the stuff you need to manufacture. So we developed our own things, and today we are able to manufacture this and for reasonable prices, you know.
And then who's done the design? This is you, Bella?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Outstanding.
Thank you. Actually, the reason why we love it so much, it's because it looks nicer than silver. It's really like white gold, maybe a tiny bit whiter than white gold, and it's you can get it like really mirror shiny surface, and it's just gorgeous.
And it's
The
very
color won't
hard.
change. It's
Like
very hard.
When you have
So-
silver or gold, you will realize when you have a ring and you wear it for a long time, it will scratch. It will get dull, it will scratch. This material is so hard, it does not,
scratch,
you know.
It does not tarnish either?
No,
It does not tarnish.
Do you
it
need to
does not-
polish it over time, like once a year or anything?
no, you don't.
Yeah, if you put your fingers in some dirt, you need to clean it. But
Yeah.
the material itself will not tarnish like silver
Yeah.
tarnishes, or gold
Yeah.
also sometimes tarnishes.
And how does it react if you're in the ocean, salt water?
No problem.
No issue.
No issue at all.
And where does that raw material come from? Cobalt chromium?
Chromium.
Yeah,
Chromium.
they are-
Chromium.
Cobalt
it comes
chromium.
from special companies who mix these alloys for manufacture in the medical industry. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're the only one in the industry that will be selling this product,
In the piercing
in
industry.
the piercing industry.
Yes.
For now,
Interesting.
For now.
I'm sure.
I'm sure people working on it already.
Yeah.
I'm sure we are tailed.
So when you get older and you need that hip replacement, the product you.
Yes,
We're just gonna put a whole bunch of piercing in the hip.
Awesome. Okay. I wanted to should we pull up your Arobela Instagram account and we can kind of take a look at some of your pictures. Let's talk about the ear, the curation of the ear and different types of piercing and the locations and the terminology behind those as well. You can use your mouse and let's walk through the ear and you can explain the definition of each piercing area, what is the time that it takes to, I don't know, what's not repair, but to heal. The time it takes to heal, and also give a definition on a scale of 1 to 10, the pain factor in each different area, and also the type of jewelry that we could put there. So let's start at the top. That looks like a little snake.
Yeah, that's a flat helix.
That's a flat helix. Okay, and the healing time?
It depends. If you're Bella, you probably need a whole year for that.
Yeah.
If you're not Bella, you could need between 2 months and 4 months, 6 months at the most. For most people, I would say I heal really, really slow.
Okay, flat helix. And what's that? Yeah. When you're getting that pierced, what's the the pain factor on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being giving birth.
Oh Jesus, 3. I would say maximum.
It's a 3.
It's a 3.
My God, everything on there is a 10 for me. So I don't know.
No.
Piercing is just very short pain.
Yeah, it's very short.
It's like it's a second of the needle going through and the pain is gone.
Okay.
Like getting vaccinated, right?
Okay. You can't say that. We got to cut that out.
No, of course not. Man.
You cannot say the V word either.
Yeah. The V word.
Multiple V words. Anyway.
No, cartilage is a bit more painful than the soft part.
I think getting a double, it's usually painful because when they insert the 2 needles in the same time, because they aim to have the angle completely parallel to each other.
Which one's that called?
You can get a double helix, like double flat helix, or you can get a double helix, or you can get a double conch. I would say the double anything, whether it's the conch.
That barbell.
Yeah.
What's that called?
It's a barbell.
But you had a different name.
Labrette. Labrette, it's got a disc in the back. So the conch is this area in.
Oh, wasn't it called the industrial?
Industrial.
It's a labrette barbell across the upper part of the ear.
It's two holes.
2 holes in the same time. Yeah.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah.
Do we have an example here?
I think you do.
Go up. I show you something else. You see the ear piercing part
on the
this?
There.
This one. Yes.
Oh, okay, maybe
can
that.
see there.
So here we can explain it more easy.
It's gonna. I think. Nice.
Oh, it even have prices.
Hey, all right. Okay, so let's go through that. We have the industrial. We did the flat helix. So the flat helix, the pain was about a 3 out of 10. Healing time typically 6 months. What about the industrial pain healing time?
I personally didn't have it, but people say it's a bit longer because you're putting a bar. Basically, it's harder to sleep. It's slower to heal.
Yeah.
I would say at least 6 months.
6 months.
6 months to 1 year for the industrial.
The biggest issue on the healing is when you non-stop touch it or when you lay on it or something.
Yes.
If you be able to leave the piercing alone,
yeah,
it will heal much faster.
Okay. Then we have the...
Sorry, can I add something?
Yeah.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
The problem also with the industrial, the reason also why it would heal slower, it's because it's a 1.6 needle. So the barbell, it's a 1.6 versus the rest of the ear, which uses a 1.2 needle. So it's also a thicker needle, a bigger hole.
Yeah.
It's more to be careful about. And the same with the conch. The conch will use a 1.6 needle.
The conch.
So the conch is that huggy in the middle of your ear that hugs that bigger part of the cartilage.
Okay.
And
that looks painful. My God.
That it's to me the most painful. That was in my experience the most painful.
So what are we in a scale of 10 on that one?
For me, it was even longer than a year. Most people would say a year.
But I mean, pain-wise.
Pain-wise, that's 8.
Hey, okay, that's the conch. So if you're feeling ballsy,
Yeah,
go and get
that's
that.
the conch. But then my daughter was like, "It's a walk in the park, Mom." Like, you know,
I think it's very individually
it's
for
individual.
everybody. Different.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
We have people, they have a lobe, which usually don't hurt, and they faint in the shop.
They faint in the
You have
shop, and so you
piercings.
don't know.
You have persons that take more than 2 years to heal.
No.
No, 1 year.
No.
No, 1 year is when you have certain issues or you don't leave it alone, or when you're a designer and you change it non-stop and stuff like that. You know?
No,
When you
but-
cannot
Always
wait
touching it.
until it's healed. And you
No,
know,
it's not just that, but it's also so long it's relatively sensitive means you're not healed.
Yeah.
So means you cannot sleep on that side. But if you forget and still sleep on that side, the position of the stem will change.
Yeah, especially if you're sleeping and
If
rolling
it
around
changes, that means it creates kind of a fresh wound every time. So it takes longer. So you really have to be very conscious of how you sleep and mindful of that side where you pierce. And most importantly, not to pierce both sides like I did simultaneously, because you won't have either side to sleep on, and that could be a bit of an issue. That's why we have decided to give people a maximum of 3 piercing per year, and only 1 year at a
not
time.
per year, per ear.
Yeah.
Per
Ear.
year.
See,
Okay, got it.
my Austrian husband corrects my English. And then you are able to sleep on the other side and get the other side done at a later point when
But you shouldn't be getting both ears done at the same time.
you shouldn't.
Ideally.
You shouldn't.
Sure.
Other than
I
lobe,
mean, you can get the earlobe, yes.
the
A earlobe
lobe
is
is
the
okay,
easiest.
but everything else like cartilage, you should not do it simultaneously.
Yeah.
Nor should you let any piercer tell you otherwise, because it's just a nightmare. It was a nightmare for me.
Also, as we think, we make a limit of 3 piercings at time, because we believe that the body needs time to heal, and when you make too many in one time, it's just more difficult.
There's too much heat release, and it's very hard to deal with.
And
Yeah.
the body
honestly.
is still, it's like
Yeah.
a wound, and the body has to fight it. You know?
Yeah, the body's sending these white bloods or
Yeah,
to
exactly.
to
It's
to
the
heal.
same
Yeah.
like
It only
you,
has so many
you get
ar-
injured, you know,
Yeah.
it's the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Who create not for your designer, but how was this created? Who decided to label each piercing area on your ear? Is there some history behind that, or are you maybe not aware of that? Like, where did this?
Was it
Who
John?
decided?
Was it John or
no,
Maria?
like many of these names are just a medical term for this part of the ear, you know.
Ah, okay.
So like a tragus or like a helix, I think it's the medical part of
Okay.
medical name of this part of the ear, you know. And then things develop over the time from, I don't know, from who actually.
Yeah.
Could have been John
Yeah,
from
somebody.
Wildcat. Could have been.
Yeah, some
Maria
people
Tash.
invent a name or they give it a name, other people take it over.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Maybe Bella, you can coin a name. Yeah.
If I find a new location,
Where
we
would
can
where
get
would that
pierced,
location be that you would coin?
Yeah,
pretty much cover all parts
it's
of the ear.
hard-
I think I would
yeah.
like to grow another ear and give completely new ideas.
Today pretty difficult to find a new location.
Yeah. What seems to be the most popular piercing or trending piercing spot? Not just on the ear, but the body. Maybe it is the ear. Where
The ear at the moment is all about
out the ear, and specifically where? What is the most popular? Even people coming into your shop, what do they ask for the
Helix.
most? The helix.
helix. Yeah.
Helix.
The
Like
helix.
the
I bel-
upper part of the ear, because earlobes they mostly have already.
Yep.
So when somebody starting is the first, second, third on the lobe, this is the first thing. But many people have that already. So helix is usually the logic next thing, you know.
So every time I'm at the shop and somebody says Helix, I'm kind of like, would you like to try a conch perhaps? Or
Why?
would you like to try a date? Or
Just to change it up.
just to change it up, yeah. I just
but the-
want to walk them through a different kind of
You're taking
idea
them
or
to-
a curated ear without just thinking of, okay, I just came to put one hole in my ear, you know.
Yeah, but it's kind of the logic next thing.
It's
the
a
next
logic
thing, the
next step,
thing.
yeah.
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 Are you guys doing all types of piercing? Nipple piercing, belly,
All the intimate
belly-
parts,
all-
belly, yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Everything.
everything. Yeah.
Okay.
All available. including dermal anchors and all of that.
What is a dermal anchor?
A single point piercing.
It's
Single
like kind of
point,
right
yeah.
into the
Yeah.
skin or into
Yeah.
the neck.
Yes.
Something
yes.
like this.
Oh my God. Is there a lot of pain behind that as well?
I wouldn't know. We
No,
don't.
You wouldn't do that.
Both of us don't have it, but I know that two of my friends got dermal anchors recently, and I wouldn't think it's too bad pain-wise, and they absolutely love it. It takes 2-3 weeks to heal, so you can see the beautiful jewel just on the surface of your skin.
And like, would
it's quite
people
nice.
like put the jewel here, like especially for religion purposes?
Marcos does, yeah. For religious purpose?
Yeah, but every
Not
every
really.
place for religious purpose, no.
No.
Not
No.
really, no. I mean opposite.
Okay. Okay.
So no, but every place on the body has different anatomy. So some places are possible, some not. You know.
Yeah.
So whenever there is not much meat, like where you only have skin and the bone under, is very difficult. You know.
Another thing is if a customer walks into the store and says, I want date, helix, and conch, or whatever, and like they've been making their homework and they know exactly what they want to get done, you might tell them no, just because based on their anatomy of their ear, it doesn't work. And you say like, okay, I'm sorry, but your date is very small, or your tragus is too tiny for that, so it won't work. So you cannot. So you just come up with different ideas, and it might.
How did the customers react to that, especially if they've come in with the intention of a specific spot on their ear and they realize that?
Most of the time, they appreciate the feedback. They like that somebody tells them differently, because I imagine if you go to a normal piercing shop, they'll just do whatever you want to do, regardless of what's possible. So I guess
I think when they see
happy.
our shop,
they know
they get
that they're in good
confident
hands.
and then they believe you.
They know they're in good hands. So I think that's okay.
Interesting.
It should be like that.
And if children come to your shop, what is the youngest age without parental consent?
You can go back to this. You had age restrictions on this on
So
the ear.
all the kids in Phuket out there, bring your parents.
On the ear piercing.
It's got to be what?
No.
I don't know the age.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see everywhere. Flat helix is 15 years plus.
That's what that means on there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the earlobe, for example, down on the right
8,
side is like 8 years plus.
But is there like
only with
an
parents?
8-year-old can still not come into your shop and get the
No.
Until 18. So even
18.
the flat helix with 15, they have to be 15, but even they need basically the consent from the parents. So we do not pierce anybody under 18 without the parents agree to this. You know.
And
then you have all the
paper
documents.
signed
And,
by mother, it's not going to cut it.
Yeah. We need at least a telephone call from the
that.
parents or from something, you know.
Yeah.
No, because we want to get the trust of the parents. So
Yeah. You don't want some angry parent showing up at your shop.
Yeah.
and
Oh, no.
causing an
and
issue.
this is usually these regulations are what they do in Europe, you know.
Yeah.
Like in Europe, you really have regulation. You're not allowed to pierce the kids under whatever 16, 15. Every country is a bit different, but there you're really not allowed. It's illegal to do it, you know.
Yeah, I think
Here it's there is no regulations about it, but we take the
You make
regulations
sure,
of Europe. Yeah.
Oh, that's important. You don't want an angry parent showing up at the shop
Yeah.
and the child doing something that they maybe would regret.
If you go to the next page,
Page there.
the next
Yeah.
one, so then you see other kind of piercings as well. So you have the nose is also 15, and then other things might be from 16 up, and so every piercing is done. And then the intim piercing is from 21 up.
Which piercing?
Intim piercing.
Intimate piercing.
Intimate.
So for example,
you guys,
nipple.
yeah.
Intimate.
Intimate. There we go. You guys are correcting each other. Don't worry.
We're finish each other's sentences.
Sandwiches.
Sandwiches, yeah.
One of the myths I remember hearing as a kid that, and I don't know if it's true, but we were told when I was in high school, don't get your eyebrow pierced because there's a nerve in your eyebrow, and if the person piercing it doesn't know what they're doing, you will go paralyzed. Is that true?
No, you don't get paralyzed, but you will bleed a lot.
You will bleed a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a complete myth. There's not a nerve in your eyebrow that if you pierce it, you go paralyzed.
No, I never heard about it, but
we heard this in Canada. I don't know. Did you hear this in Brazil?
No, we never had that. That was the first time.
I
Yeah,
think they
really.
probably just said that's
I think-
because the eyebrow, the nose ring, and the eyebrow were very popular about 15, maybe 20 years ago in Canada. This was like the number one spot.
Probably when you got it.
Eyebrow and nose ring and
Yeah.
and tongue ring.
tongue. Yeah,
In
the
Brazil
tongue is
was like
sensitive
that.
because you have a like this string in the tongue, so
Yeah.
the piercer really need to know what he's doing. You know.
Shit. Have you
Brazil
done
is-
any tongue piercings since you're open?
No.
No, it's
No,
not. It's
nobody
not
is-
as
yeah, I
popular
don't think
anymore.
it's as
Oh.
popular as it used to be.
Also, the tongue is. I think it's a short time pleasure, and then you have difficulty eating, even talking in the beginning, and then
You chip your teeth.
then you chip it. Is tongue piercing? I would not recommend it.
Okay.
I mean, get it done for 2 months to have fun with your girlfriend, boyfriend.
Hey.
Then you take it
But
off.
then take it out. Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, but maybe you can just get a magnet or something.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Is before we plug Arabella's, because we're probably getting close to 2 hours, and I also need a drink. Is there anything else that your client should know about piercing? Maybe like an FAQ, a do's and don'ts, red flags, anything that kind of you would like to mention on that in when coming in for a piercing? Maybe even prep before. Don't come in drunk. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, we recommend not to drink, but I mean, who are we to tell people not to drink, So yeah, it's not good to get a piercing when you're wasted, definitely, But
Should not be like the tattoos that you get when you're drunk and
Otherwise-
regret it,
otherwise, go to your shop, to your local studio, and talk to them, and you will see if they're professional or not. Have a look what tools they use, if everything is sterilized, and basically, I don't know, have fun with your piercing.
Check the Google reviews and be
Yeah,
sure.
what's also important is don't think you make a piercing and then you can forget about, and after 2 months it's healed and that's it. You always have to, in the beginning, take care of your piercing. You have to daily clean it. You need to take care. You should also
Listen
good
to your
indication of a good piercing studio is somebody that invites you to come back for a checkup after 2 weeks, and basically like in the hospital, if they treat you, they will tell you come back in 2 weeks to check, So the same for your piercing. Go back to your piercer, let him check, let him clean, let him advise you, or maybe change the size. You need to change the size of the piercing once the swelling get down. Or
what is the
different
protocol
things.
for cleaning your piercing?
You can take cotton buds and you use saline water, which we give to everybody that
And doing
that's
this
getting
in the
pierced
morning
and,
and night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should.
Yeah.
Perfect is if you do it twice a day, morning
Any
and
issues
night.
with shower,
Like cleaning your
showering,
teeth,
or
No.
no issue showering?
Yeah, in the beginning you try to avoid getting the water directly on it, but if you get it, it's also no big deal. You just
It's
clean it with
possible with
saline
the-
water.
Yeah.
and,
Washing hairs. But anyway, you need to keep it dry. Most
Because like
importantly.
shower water can be dirty, right? I mean, it's
yeah,
Yes.
in the
especially-
beginning
Yes.
when it's new, you should try not to get the water on it. You should
Okay.
try not to also go swim in the
Yeah.
beginning, and
Yeah.
But if you do, you just clean it after with saline water, cotton pads, and most of it, leave it alone, Don't play with it
Okay.
because it's very tempting to play with it,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
So-
especially with your hands and the bacteria.
Yeah, try not to sleep on it. Try not to. Just be careful and take care of it, and then you will have a lot of fun with it.
Yes. And if issues arise, most importantly, it's just like going to see your doctor. Go see your piercer because he'll have a few tips up his
Exactly.
sleeve that will save
One
your
big,
piercing and
Yeah.
will save
Yeah.
you from having pain, infection,
One big
embedded piercings into keloids are one of our scariest thing in the industry.
Is what?
Embedded piercings, like
piercing
when
grow into the meat, basically, when people don't take
when
care
you
of it.
develop a keloid, it's a bump
Oh, okay.
in front and
Yeah.
behind the piercing location. So the piercing becomes embedded. Whether it's a barbell or a labret, it doesn't matter. It becomes embedded, becomes dangerous. So infection is oozing there. You need to go and let your piercer treat it.
The
He
biggest
knows what to
advice,
do.
my biggest advice is do not go to the doctor.
Yeah, don't go to the
Because
doctor.
doctors, of course, they're doctors. They know their job, but they do not know piercings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest problem because doctors many times advise the wrong thing. So if you have a problem, if you think something is wrong, go back to your piercer. He will tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, we've scared everyone silly at the end. No, I'm joking. So we'll close out now. Where can people find Arobelas? We'll focus on that. I think for the factory stuff, you're good. We showed that. But where can they find you? What's your website? Where can they find you on Instagram? And where are you located in Phuket? And even operating hours and whatnot.
Arobela is Arobela.
Arobela.com.
Website is arobela.com. The Instagram is Arobela Jewels.
Arobela Jewels.
And our
Don't
shop
worry,
is
we'll put that
in
here.
Boat Avenue, in Phuket Boat Avenue.
In the Laguna area.
In the Laguna area, yes. Yeah. Quite easy to find. We have our crystal tuk-tuk downstairs, so
right.
you cannot miss it.
We're upstairs.
Yep.
Just note.
Upstairs at Boat Avenue, you have this beautiful crystal tuk-tuk. We'll put the picture right here.
Yeah.
And then they can see they go up. Also, the Boat Avenue is a great area, especially if you just go to dinner, get a piercing, go to the night market.
Exactly.
Yep.
They might
Make it a
even
fun
tonight
day
they'll
out.
find on the Friday night market. They can find you in the night market.
Yes,
Right.
we
Every
have
Friday.
a promotion. We
It's gonna be
have our
there.
tuk
Yeah.
there. We
See
make
the tuk-tuk there.
Exactly.
See Albert.
And even
there,
after you got the piercing, you go to the supermarket to buy something, just pass by quick to our piercer, have a look, and it doesn't cost you anything for checkup.
Come say hi.
Yeah.
And after you go, do your Google reviews. That's what that's the bread and butter of these companies. All right. So thanks everyone for listening. You can actually close the YouTube video now if you don't want to watch this. We are Fruiting Body Mushrooms. We are selling medicinal mushrooms. It'll be coming up in the next couple of months. We're doing legalized mushrooms like lion's mane, reishi, chaga, cordyceps. You can find us at Fruiting Body Mushrooms. We have multiple Instagram accounts at Fruiting Body Podcast. We're also doing Muay Thai and mushrooms as well. And our podcast channel, Fruiting Body Podcast on YouTube, and our Fruiting Body YouTube channel. We're doing a lot of awesome content. We'll be doing different, not so much travel vlogs, but more lifestyle vlogs of Fruiting Body. We've done episodes of People of Phuket with Robert and Bella. You can catch that soon. Absolute legends. Great content. We're almost done editing it. So you can go see the shop yourself before you go visit it, especially if you haven't arrived in Phuket. Other than that, that's the end of our show. I never know how to end this. So, we're done.
Thank you.